got a Scout. So, as you can see, I'm sitting in a Scout camper. Specifically, the model that we're sitting in is a Scout Yoho 2022. We just bought this about a week ago, and we took it out on its first inaugural camping trip. And I'm here to show you kind of my first thoughts on the unit, what I like about the unit, what I don't like about the unit, and hopefully maybe give you guys a better idea of what this thing is all about. So I'll first introduce the camper. It's a 2022 Scout Yoho. It's basically fully loaded. We got all the options with it. I mean, that's things like the 1500 watt power station, the Dometic fridge, the Dometic stove, the hanging bags, the roof racks to hang things off of, the diesel heater. We got the 270-degree awning outside. We got the roto packs. And honestly, I really don't think there's anything else you can get for this thing. We also got the camper jacks to go with it, which I feel is essential. So this thing's pretty fully loaded. We originally weren't going to do that. We had put in an order and we had built one ourselves that didn't have nearly half the stuff that this has. However, the dealership had some factory second units that had a slight cosmetic defect, which this one has on the roof. And we got it for a discounted price, so we kind of snagged it and picked this one up early, so now we got a fully loaded Scout. So the camper rides on our 2020 Ford Ranger FX4 XLT. The Ranger itself is basically stock. It has a leveling kit, a BDS leveling kit that raises the front by roughly 2 inches, and that kit included some BDS rear suspension. But other than that, it's a stock Ranger. The camper weighs roughly 1,100 pounds. I'll show you a picture of what it looks like on the Ranger. It surprisingly doesn't load it down as much as I thought it would. Again, with that 2-inch level in the nose, you can see that it kind of squats a little bit. So if you had a Ranger that wasn't leveled, it would probably sit just fine. But regardless, I plan on getting some helper springs or like some airbags to help carry this thing while it's on the truck. So as far as performance goes, driving performance that is, before the camper, we ran around with a rooftop tent, and that stuck up maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches above the roof. And the truck was clocking about 10.9 liters per 100 kilometers. And once we put the camper on, and we did our round trip, we clocked roughly, it was like 14.8 liters per 100 kilometers. So an expected drop in fuel economy, but still manageable, I'd say. In terms of ride, it rode pretty comfortably. You can definitely tell that it's there. You definitely feel the weight. It takes longer to brake. You can feel it kind of jostle around, especially if there's wind. However, with it being as lightweight as it is, I honestly didn't feel uncomfortable driving it, and I've never driven with a camper or a camper trailer before. I didn't feel tippy, I didn't feel boaty. I just felt like I kind of had to, take corners a little bit slower, just be aware that I was hauling this camper in the back of my truck. But other than that, it felt pretty natural, you know, and that's one of the things I like about it. Going into the weight again, this unit weighs roughly 1,100 pounds, so we're getting pretty close to the payload capacity on the Ranger. So that's something to keep in mind with these things, especially if you overload them, you're going to cross your capacity real quick. So I'm kind of going to go over our first trip with this thing. We left after work, and we left roughly 5 p.m. We took this thing up over the Coquihalla to Kelowna, and while we were going up over the Coquihalla, we happened to hit kind of like this mini blizzard whiteout storm, which was a little bit sketchy, especially doing the first mountain pass with the camper. It got really hard to see, got slick, a little bit windy. However, you know, I didn't once feel like I lost control, or I didn't once feel like I had to compensate for the weight of the camper. The truck still handled it really well, so I was really thankful for that. So by the time we got to the campsite in Kelowna, it was just below freezing, roughly -3 degrees Celsius. And we got in here, got everything set up. We had a little bit of issue lighting the diesel heater. The controller is a little bit wonky on it. Some things that it doesn't do is it doesn't monitor the ambient temperature in here and function off that. You can only set it up to run on a timer. And you got to be careful about the diesel that you put in it. Again, it's a diesel heater. If it's really cold out, it's not going to want to start, which I think is part of the issue that I had with it. The dealership had filled it roughly half full with some summer diesel, and then it took me about 6 or 7 different attempts to get the heater going. But once the heater did get going, it warmed up this little space real fast. You basically set it from 10% to 100%, and I think the highest we had it at was 80% when we first got it running, and then just in a matter of minutes, you know, it was hot in here. And in fact, when we're running it at night, you know, we ran it on 10%, like for an hour and a half at a time, and that kept us plenty warm. So with the heater, when it works really good. It keeps you really, really warm, and I honestly couldn't see people needing to use it, you know, past like 30-40%. So I don't know, teach their own, I guess. So, I mean, the first trip went really well. Didn't really have any super major issues with it. We got in, stayed the night in the winter, got out. You know, the wife and I slept up top. I'm 6 foot tall, and I can sleep fully spread out on this, and my feet hit flat up on this upper wall here. So I'm pretty comfortable. We put an extra little 2-inch foam pad under here, which also helped make it more comfortable. We had a dog that slept on the floor, and we had our 7-month-old daughter. She slept on this bench here. This table collapses down into a bed, and I had built a makeshift rail to kind of clamp onto this and hold her in. It worked great. She slept like a rock through the whole thing, which was really nice. So yeah, it was a successful first trip. We used the stove worked fine. We used the fridge worked fine. And all in all, we're pretty happy with how it handled the first time, and we're going to take it on a longer trip going to Jasper here. And yeah, I'll show you that as that happens. But yeah, we're pretty optimistic about it. We're pretty positive about it. So we plan to take this thing kind of everywhere. Like I just said, we're going to go to Jasper and kind of do the Icefield Parkway, go through Banff, you know, do all that, or attempt to. We'll see how that goes. We want to go up and go all over BC, Yukon, Alaska, go down into the west coast of the United States and hit like, you know, Grand Canyon, Utah, Oregon, all that. One thing I'm really excited about for this though is to go on some of the astronomy projects. Since it's so easy to put on and take off, I can throw this on the truck and head up the mountain to some of my favorite astrophotography spots, and I have someplace warm and covered to sit while the rig is out there doing its thing. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to bring more adventures in this with the truck and kind of keep everybody updated on how the truck's handling it and how we're handling it. So yeah, it's a pretty cool unit. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I know there's not a lot of info on this, especially when it comes to Rangers. So hopefully if you have a newer Ranger, you know, this video kind of helps you out. This has just been my experience with it. Let me know if you have any other experiences with it. And yeah, stay tuned for more stuff. Stay tuned for more astrophotography trips in this thing. Yeah. The Astro Scout